Hi, Jay.
Hey, Mike.
Hi. You guys are halfway through the Pac-12 portion of the schedule at this point. What are the areas that you like the most about your team, and what are some areas where maybe you feel like you can still improve a little bit?
Yeah, I think areas that I like is the consistency and competitiveness. I feel like they've shown up ready to play for the majority of the games this year. And when I say majority, that means almost every single one of them. I think that is uncommon in this day and age, and so I value that out of their consistency, and I think it's been reflective in the play. I think obviously offensively, I think guys staying within plan, staying within themselves, and really taking consistent quality at bats has been a strength. I think we've played better defense than the numbers show. I think we've had, two games that have kind of gotten off the rails that probably affected our fielding percentage. And I think there's been some kind of unusual errors that we've had. So I think we've played better defense maybe than the numbers have shown. So I like that part of our team. I think we've had some outstanding pitching performances, both as starters and throughout the pen that have kept us almost in every game that we've played. There's certainly some consistency there with the pitching staff that I think we'd all like to be a little bit better. And I think it'll make us really hard to beat when that happens. I think, in terms of what I want to improve, I think staying the course and just ensuring that we stay the course is probably a better way of saying what we want to improve, because I look at each of these weekends, as I've talked about, as the same. Everybody is on our schedule is certainly capable of beating us, and we're certainly capable of winning every game that we play. So I think I'm just looking for some continued consistency in approach and a desire to continue to improve throughout the season.
You've promoted this idea that the pitching is the strength of the team, or can be the strength of the team. It seems like that's really manifested itself in the bullpen. Different guys have stepped up at different times, short outings, long outings. How have you seen the development of that particular group?
Well, I think the depth is the first reason for that. I think we have a lot of different styles of pitchers that have different strengths that complement each other well. I think they've done a good job of throwing strikes for the most part and putting pressure on opposing offenses. And guys have come in out of the bullpen ready to pitch. And I think that's really important. I think one stat that I look at with relief pitchers is their ability to strand inherited runners, and we've been very good at that. And there's a number of guys that have contributed to that, and there's been different guys at different phases of the year. I mean, Gil Luna stepped up recently. Randy Abshire has stepped up recently. Preston, Vince, and Quinn have been pretty good, through the duration of the season. Chandler Murphy has been good. Austin Smith is really coming along. So I have faith in all of those guys, and I think our depth makes us a unique pitching staff. And if they continue to improve, then I think that's really good for the outlook of our team. I think we need that improvement, but I think if they continue to do that, I think that makes us a tough out for anybody on any given day.
Next question, Ari Kozlow.
Daniel Susak has been singing the ball really well at the plate the last few games. What have you seen in regards to his progression from the start of the season to now?
Well, Daniel's really talented, as you can see by some of the long home runs he hits. Has a lot of extra base hits, has a lot of RBIs. I think just getting the amount of at-bats under his belt that he has helped to expose him to what he needed to do better. And I think he's getting more consistent at doing those things better, and has led to more consistent performance and productivity in terms of hard contact power and runs batted in. I think he can be as good as he wants to be. And if he continues to stay on plan and manage the zone and not give away at bats, then I think you're looking at a really special hitter. I don't think he's there yet. I think he would tell you that, but I think he's on his way and on a good track.
Next question back to Michael.
I know you don't necessarily like to compare your current players to your past players, but I was wondering how Daniel stacks up in your mind with some of the other guys you've had in terms of handling pitching staffs, framing pitches, managing the game, those types of things.
Yeah, the best thing I'll say about Daniel is for, call it 90% of the time, 90% of the season, you don't even know he's back there. And that's a good thing. If you're not noticing the catcher, it's almost like a good umpire. And I think he's done a good job with that. The receiving part has been really good. I feel like in the games we've been successful, we've kept the count in our favor. I think the catcher has a lot to do with that, with framing pitches, pitches called. I mean, he's caught the majority of the innings, but especially recently, we haven't had any real massive wild pitch pass ball issues, and he throws as good as and accurately as anybody in the country. And so I think that's been a big plus. I mean, relative to comparing, I mean, we've had a pretty nice 6-year run of catching with Cesar and Austin and Matt, and now Daniel. And so I love all those guys and very thankful they've all been Wildcats.
Sure. You kept Preston Price out last weekend to rest his arm. What's his status for this weekend?
Yeah, no update yet. I'll see him at practice today. Like I said, that was more of a precautionary thing. We'll get him in when he's ready, and we'll hold him out as long as we need to. It's kind of we'll just call it a day-to-day, week-to-week thing. And I don't know if it's more of a day-to-day or week-to-week thing. We're certainly doing what we need to do from a athletic training / treatment standpoint to get him back as quickly as we can. But we also have to be really smart about that as well.
Sure. I want to say that somewhere around the third of the league has changed head coaches since the 2019 season. And you obviously didn't play any conference games last year. So Washington State had a new coach. USC has a new coach. Do you have any background with Jason Gill? Number one, and number two, is their style any different than maybe what we're used to in the past from the Trojans?
Good question. I think all the programs that made changes, I think were positively affected by those changes. And I think USC is no different. When I look at them, I see a fundamentally sound team. He kind of came up through the Cal State Fullerton coaching tree, a lot of bunting, a lot of discipline, a lot of defense and pitching type mindset. And that worked for that program for a long time. And those are the coaches that he learned from. I've always had respect for him as a baseball coach and believed that they would be a fundamentally sound team if he was coaching them. And when I watch them, that's what I see.
Do we have any more questions for Coach? Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Preston and Vince are kind of the senior elder statesmen of the pitching staff, but they aren't the only ones. You've got Quinn Flanagan, who's in his 4th year. I know he's technically a sophomore because of the eligibility ruling, but has he kind of emerged as a leader in that group as well?
Yeah, I value Quinn so much, and he's obviously a great pitcher for us. He's pitched some really significant innings and wins and important wins for our team this year. I think his baseball abilities goes without saying. I mean, he's getting his fastball up to 93, 94, good breaking ball, good changeup, great demeanor. I think what I value in players is reliability, and he's someone that I trust. I'm not thinking or worrying if he's doing what he can to be prepared to pitch and to execute at a high level. Going to graduate, with maybe even a 4.0 or just shy of a 4.0. I just have a lot of peace of mind when he's on the mound, and that's as much for the person he is as the quality pitcher that he is. And as we were kind of figuring out how all of this was going to work with the quarantine COVID, going to Quinn was one of my first things, and making sure that that he would be back here this year. And I'm certainly happy that he is. And maybe somebody who doesn't get talked about as much as he should, but he's probably okay with that because he's humble and he's a team first guy and has really done what we've asked him to do. And there's a few guys that have kind of emerged throughout the season that maybe you didn't hear from them for a week or two, but that are a really important part of our team. And then you hear from them. I think, Quinn, along with Austin Smith, are going to be big pillars of our success, for the rest of the way here.
Next question, Matt Moreno.
Ryan put another strong week together at the plate. What do you expect from him every time he's going up to bat, or just each game? What are kind of your expectations for him?
You said Ryan, right, Matt?
Yeah, Ryan Holgate. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really proud of him. I mean, he certainly has talent. I mean, he's a pro prospect for a reason. I mean, that's special power, special bat speed. His exit velocities are all really, really high. The data numbers that, people are attracted to now, and that's probably always been there. I think what I'm most impressed with is his consistency in having control of himself, which leads him to having control of his at-bats. I would have categorized him a year ago as a dangerous hitter that can hurt you. I think he's a great hitter now. And I think the discipline and at-bats, the walks, the hard contact. I'll give you an example. Tuesday night, it was a 3-1 count. I think it was a second or third at bat. He smashed a fastball right down the middle with a good short stroke, right at the right fielder. He was positioned correctly and made the play. That frustration of not getting the result he wanted, maybe it would have taken him out of his plan or approach just because he wanted to get a hit for the next at bat. And that doesn't happen anymore. And I sure enjoy coaching him because it's been a big process to get him to this point. And I think we're there, and I just have a lot of confidence in him coming up to bat in any situation that it's going to turn out positively for our team.
Next question, back to Michael.
Are you eyeing a return of TJ to the rotation on Sunday at this point?
Yeah, we're going to make some changes to the rotation. We have not solidified it yet, and not ready to announce any of the games for the weekend. I'll have Brett get that out to you guys when we're ready to do that.
Okay. Regarding Chase, the first outing that he had where he was kind of off, it was fastball location. Was there anything specific regarding the Washington State outing that jumped out to you?
Yeah, I mean, they hit everything. I would credit Washington State, and I don't know that in the 6 years I've been in the league that there was more including here sometimes on hot days as the season gets going a little bit later on. I don't know that I've ever seen a more offensive environment than that in terms of how fast the turf is. It's kind of like old school, Houston Astrodome turf in terms of how hard and how fast it is. The field is small, the weather was warm, and the wind was blowing straight out. And, no lead really felt safe. And again, I'll give credit to Washington State. I think they're the best hitting team that we had played in the Pac-12 to this point, at least in terms of how they performed last weekend. And I think the environment was very conducive to offense. And yeah, I mean, we're asking a lot out of Chase. We've asked a lot out of Chase, and he has delivered. I think we'd won all but one game up until last Friday that he has started and pitched in. And, so I expect him to bounce back. I expect him to bounce back in a big way. He obviously has great stuff. But again, much like I was talking about with Quinn, maybe in a different way, the person makes the pitcher, the quality of a person, competitor that Chase is. I really expect him to be ready to roll and get us off to a good start tomorrow night.
Final call for questions for Coach. All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, guys.
All right, questions for Quinn Flanagan, please raise your hand. We'll start with Michael Love.
Quinn, from an eligibility standpoint, you're still considered a sophomore, but you're in I think your fourth year in the program at this point. Do you consider yourself a leader on the pitching staff?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just comes with experience, and I think I have a pretty good relationship with everyone on this team. that's something I try to do is make sure that, there's open communication between, guys that I've known for 4 years and guys that I'm just now knowing this year. But I think that speaks to a lot of the different guys on this staff as well. Preston Price, Vince Minnelli, a couple of these other older guys who have been here a while. I think they've done a tremendous job just making everyone feel comfortable and making sure that they can, come up to an older guy and check in with them every once in a while.
Sure. You had mentioned, I think in the preseason that, you spent a lot of time during the pandemic, getting stronger. Maybe your velocity ticked up a little bit. Did it take you a little bit of time to get used to that as a pitcher?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit. Certain things changed, my mechanics, and just kind of making sure that I had those things fine-tuned. I think the fall was really good for that. I can make all these changes, but once a guy steps in the box, it's a little different game. And something I carried over into this year, and I think consistency is something that's been big for me. I feel like I started off pretty well, then there's a little rough patch in the middle, and just getting some things fine-tuned, and now I think it's come a long way.
Sure. The rough patch that you referenced, more walks than you're
Right.
used to issuing. Did you kind of figure out what was going on with that specifically?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's always a work in progress. You're constantly making different changes throughout the year, and I think I found something that's worked for me. And that was the big thing for me. It was just limited walks. I think I was hurting myself more than getting hit around. And whenever I can limit walks, I feel like I have a good chance.
Sure. And how would you describe the collective psyche of the bullpen group? It seems like different guys are emerging in different games, different points in the season. You have a lot of different options that you can go to. How does that group as a whole just sort of approach its tasks?
I think from a bullpen standpoint, we've really stepped up. I think there was a couple key losses throughout the year. We had Vince out for a while, and then Preston now. But I think going into the year, we all knew that we had really good stuff, and it was just a matter of when we were going to step up and when some of these guys were going to get in the game. And guys like Randy and Gil have really been big for us, and I expect them to continue to do well, just knowing them personally, and I'm excited for it.
Next question, Ari Kozlow.
As Michael just brought up, the overall depth of the bullpen has really showed out at times this year. What would you say is the current state of the bullpen heading into the latter part of the Pac-12 schedule?
I think we're in a good position. There's some guys, last week and even this midweek that, really stepped up, and, we're seeing different guys get in the game, and it's really kind of helped, us collectively, because, we don't have to run out the same guys over and over, and we have different options that we can go to. And I think that's been big.
Do we have any more questions for Quinn? Yes, Michael, go ahead.
Did you have any overlap with Cesar Salazar?
I was here for 1 year, my freshman year. Yeah.
Your freshman year. Okay. So you've had him to throw to, probably in the bullpen, I guess. You had Austin Wells and Matthew Dyer in games. How would you rate the job that Daniel Susac has done in terms of handling the staff, managing the game, all of those types of things?
Yeah, I think he's done a tremendous job. It's crazy that he's only a freshman. I think as a catcher, you have to be like one of the most mature guys on the field, just because you have to, handle all these different pitchers that you have to, build a relationship with and kind of know their style of pitching. And on top of that, you have to, remain locked in on both sides of the ball with every pitch on, defense and offensively as well. And I think he's handled that really well. And I think, that kid has a tremendous future ahead of him, and I'm really excited to see, what he turns out to be.
When we talk to him, he seems very calm and mature, but I also notice sometimes during the games, he'll give sort of like a fist pump or something if someone makes a good pitch. How would you describe like what his demeanor is like during the game?
Yeah, I'd say it's still very calm. He handles it very well, but also that there's moments where, like you said, he kind of gives that fist bump, and it's kind of just you and him working together. And I think that's, really big, not only for like younger freshmen or, younger pitchers to kind of know, like, it's just them working out there, but also for like these older guys to let them know that, he has our back as well.
Sure. What are your overall thoughts on where the team is at halfway through the Pac-12 schedule?
I think we're in a really good position. I think, we just gotta, keep kind of focusing game on game, not getting too far ahead of ourselves, and just kind of approach each day like it's the last game we'll play. So.
Final call for questions for Quinn. All right, thank you, Quinn.
Thank you.
All right, last up we have Daniel Susak. Questions for Daniel, please raise your hand. We'll start with Ari Kozlow.
You've been seeing the ball really well over the last few games at the plate. Where would you say your confidence level is at right now in comparison to when you first stepped, onto campus with the team?
I'd say it's grown a bit. I think I just had to mature a little bit as a hitter. Just kind of talking with Coach Johnson and Chief, kind of like simplifying my approach, not trying to do too much, just, letting my mind take over and not trying to do too much in the situation. I think that's really evolved my game.
Next question, Michael Lev.
6 of your 7 home runs have come in 3 games. You've had 3 games with 2 home runs apiece. Do you think there's anything to that? Do you sort of get into a groove or a zone?
I'm not really sure. We were talking about that in the dugout actually after that game. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I think it just happens. I actually, coming into college, never used to really hit. If I hit a home run, I never really hit 2 in a game. So that's why I was kind of shocked about it. But yeah.
How has your role as an on-field leader evolved over the course of the season?
It's something I'm obviously still working at. I think there's always room for growth there as a leader, but it's definitely very important to me. Being a catcher, you kind of have to control the whole field. You're the only one that can really see the whole field. And I think the biggest thing as a catcher is knowing that the pitcher can trust you with everything he has. So I think that's the biggest part for me as a leader.
Do you interact with each pitcher differently based on their personality?
There's some similarities, there's some differences. I think obviously depending on their personality, kind of depends the way you kind of go with them. But there's some similarities with everybody. The message is always the same. What do you like that day? What are you confident in? And just having that ability that they know that they can trust you.
Next question, Brian Peterson.
Earlier, Coach Johnson said that one of the best things about you being back there is that in a lot of games, no one really even notices you're there because there's nothing that's standing out negatively or what. With the amount of different pitchers you guys have used this year, particularly lately, bringing in a lot of arms that haven't gotten a lot of work, how does that affect you as far as like what you have to do differently when a new pitcher comes into a game?
I don't really think it affects much. I think it doesn't really matter to me who's in the game. I think they all do great and they always have a great job to compete out there and give us their best shot. So for me, I think just making sure that they're confident on the mound and all their pitches is just the biggest thing for me. So every time I go out there, I just make sure that, they're in the right mindset and right frame of mind to attack the hitter.
So when you when a new pitcher comes out, do you just try and like say something to them when you first come out on the mound going, all right, you know what to do? Or
yeah, I usually just say like, trust your stuff. If there's runners in scoring position when the reliever comes in, I tell them they're not going to score. We're going to make sure that's not going to happen. And with the starter, I just say, let's usually in the pen, I say, let's go compete today, have fun and go win a game.
thank you.
Next question, back to Michael.
What do you make of your bullpen? You guys have a lot of depth, as Coach Johnson referenced, and it seems like it's different guys have emerged at different points of the season. Do you feel a lot of confidence in that group?
I do. I think the best part about it is it doesn't really matter who's in the game. We have that same amount of trust with everyone. It's kind of a next man up mentality. Whenever we need someone, it's the same thing. The next person steps up in a big role. And you just see it every week. There's somebody new that just steps up in that big role and delivers a great performance.
Next question, back to Ari.
The top 4 leaders in this conference and RBIs come from this Arizona team. How in an off day where, the pitchers might not be on point, how much do you think this offense can make up for that performance from these pitchers? Yeah,
I think at any time our offense can really explode. And I think the biggest part about that is unselfish at bats, taking, kind of that role that you're in, either moving the runner over or getting him in, not taking at bats for yourself, but taking them for the team. I think that's been a huge part of our offense this year. you saw in Frisco, I think we were down 9-3 and we scored like 16 unanswered. So at any point it can happen. We're never out of the fight. I think that's a great mindset with our teams, that we're really never out of it.
Next question back to Michael.
Your footwear has been featured on social media a little bit. Who do you think has the best shoe game on the team?
That's tough. I'd probably say Tyler Casagrande. I feel like he mixes it up the most. I'd definitely say him.
And what does he usually, does he have a particular style or a particular brand of shoes that he wears on or off the field?
He stays with Nikes, just kind of custom ones. He has a really good design, like different cleats. He knows really how to wear them.
And what about yourself? Well, how do you approach that element of your ensemble?
I liked the cleat. I saw Jason Kipnis wearing the exact same cleats I had, the custom Nikes. So I changed them to obviously the Arizona colors and then put a Croatian flag on the back because that's where my family's from. And then an Arizona logo on the front, obviously for Arizona.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have any more questions for Daniel? All right. Thank you, everybody. That's all we have for today.